What's up, fellow Cybertronians? My name is VideoJames, and we're back with another video. So some of you may be wondering why B's back. You might be like, hey, James, didn't you already do a review of this B? Didn't you already get this out of the way? Yes, but there's actually a reason B's here. So I kind of got tired of my old style recording of where I would just be behind the camera and there would be no facial interaction. But I also don't really know how well I'd be able to do a review of a Transformer with the camera pointed at me. And I kind of don't really want to take the couple hours it would take to try and figure that out. So for the time being, for all future Transformers videos, B's going to be here and he's going to be helping me when we take a look at the Transformers we're reviewing. One such Transformer being the Transformers Studio Series Jazz. Now Transformers seem to have a history in terms of the Studio Series lines, with them releasing the figures and then shortly before or after us getting figures in the Masterpiece line that are either better or worse, or at higher or lower retail prices. Because as we all know, when Jazz was initially released, it was kind of right before everything went to complete and utter crap, and Transformers just kind of stopped being available pretty much anywhere that wasn't online, at least at a somewhat near retail price. And looking for Transformers that have been in the Studio Series line of figures that we've either never had a good figure of or have been waiting on a good figure of for ages have been increasingly hard to get. Some of the inclusions to this being Ratchet, Ironhide, Sideswipe, Jazz, basically all those guys. And it is funny that it's mostly Autobots too. Like, don't get me wrong, there have absolutely been some Decepticons, but most of the time it does tend to be the Autobots, with I think the few cons being, I want to say Barricade, maybe one of the Shatters or Dropkicks, and really not many others, aside from probably Shockwave. Though to be fair, with how much plastic is in Shockwave's package, we all know he was going to cost a pretty penny. Unlike B himself, who has somehow managed to stay somewhat near his market price of $30, and with the reprint, technically, of him in Revenge of the Fallen, with the lighter colors than one would like and less paint apps, it's reasonable to assume that we probably will see a rise and increase for this B as well. But, I mean, what can you do? Quality is quality. So taking a look at Jazz now, he is actually a very stunning figure just from vehicle mode alone. Unfortunately, I didn't get a box with Jazz, so I can't really show off his box art. And, it's really not that big a loss with the Studio Series bots, because mainly their backdrops are pretty much one scene of a movie for a select line, like for the Dark of the Moon versions. And with Jazz, I'm pretty sure it was just that alley scene where they end up meeting Sam and Michaela. Either that, or it's the scene where he meets Megatron and decides to shoot off a little more than he can blast. But looking at the figure then, this thing is spectacular. I gotta say, I love that they actually went with silver paint for this Jazz, because if they had just gone with like a plain gray, it would have been such a disappointment. But with this silver, it does actually look very nice. And getting a little bit closer here, you can see the little Porsche symbol up front. Even really nice detail up in the grill that we've got that kind of little real-life pattern going on in there throughout the entire front section. We got nice painted blue for these lights down here, and a nice translucent blue for the lights up here. Although the windows are actually also given that translucent blue, and it does look very nice, even around the back. And then looking at the rest of this figure, we see they've just done an absolutely amazing job in terms of detailing. Like, we've got the little vent pieces going on here and here. The wheels looking very nice as well, even with the detailing and the grooving in there. Aside from the lack of paint for the actual wheel part of the wheels, but some paint is skipped. There's always going to be paint skipped in Studio Series, just look at Sentinel Prime. And even the door handle has been sculpted amazingly well, with a little dent right there, and it actually being split into two pieces where the one handle would come outwards. And then looking around the back, we had a nice, bright, vibrant red for those headlights, kind of sunken in feature for the back windshield that you can see these side bits kind of come out, and it kind of gives that illusion of it's further in than it should be. And the spoiler is looking very nice as well. Lack of tailplate there, though. I gotta say, it's a little weird that there's just no tailplate there, where there's clearly an indentation for one. And even the way they incorporated the parts of the robot mode to have sculpting to where they look like the back of the car is very ingenious. And I do really love that they kind of kept the Porsche features of these little shark fins over here on the sides. That does look really nice. And in terms of line paneling, it actually doesn't look too bad. Like, I mean, you can definitely tell where there are lines, but they're so seamless, it's kind of like they just are natural. Like, even the parts up front where it's the most egregious case of, yes, that splits apart, it still just looks like it's the hood of the car. And it does, like, actually look very fantastic. Talking of seamless, this has to be one of the least undercarriaged figures I've seen in a long time. Like, everything is just neatly folded up and sunk down under there, and you can barely even tell where anything's at. Like, I mean, these are clearly the feet, but it's like, it's so flat and spread out and nicely evenly paced that you can barely really tell where anything is. Aside from the bit of visible head syndrome we got going on there, but even that's sunken into the point where it's all nice and hidden away. And of course, Jazz does come with his little moon mirror shield blaster here that looks really well, and because of the 5mm port, can pretty much go on any figure you want it to, so I really do like that you can kind of just stick it onto any figure and have it just be like they're avenging Jazz in the first movie and just blasting Megatron in the face. Not a lot of storability though. I mean, basically the only real place you can store it in vehicle mode because of the way it is to take the front bit here, flip it up like so to where it's flat, and then there's this little bit right here that will actually go into this midsection of the tail bit. So you basically just want to take this, line it up like that with the midsection, and just push backwards, and it doesn't really click into place, it kind of just sets there, but you can see it kind of stores like that, so he's got a kind of Cybertronian antenna umbrella. But regardless, this thing is still amazing in vehicle mode. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad that we finally got a good Jazz figure. I mean, we've been needing a good Jazz figure for, I mean, how long's it been, B? Really? Transformers actually came out in 2007? Wow, that makes me feel old. Okay, thanks a lot, B. But regardless, we finally have the Jazz figure that we've been waiting on, and it is actually accurately sized, too, for comparison. Here he is with a version of the Studio Series Soundwave that one of my good friends got me that I actually really love. And, like, since they got me this, I have not put this thing into a box, like, ever, except to transport it with me because it has not left my side. And we can see it next to another version of this bee, which I got as a replacement for this one, to see if I could get one without the issue of this opening space here. And we can see it is pretty accurately sized. Like, looking at Jazz compared to B, he does actually end up being a little bit smaller by a fair, I would say, relative amount. And when next to Soundwave, he just gets absolutely dwarfed. I mean, that is tiny compared to Soundwave, which, I mean, I feel like is very appropriate considering Jazz was probably one of the tiniest movie bots we got, aside from the RC twins and, well, the actual twins of Mudflap and Skids. But what do we say, enough of gushing over the vehicle mode, and let's get on to the actual robot mode, shall we? So first thing you want to do is you want to just pop this shield off, and it is going to actually require you to actually grab it and take it off. You can't kind of just push it from the back off. So the first thing you want to do is you'll want to actually come around here, and the doors are pegged in kind of a weird way. So there is a peg that goes into this part, but there's also a joint that's in here that kind of locks this behind it, so it's kind of hard to get out. But what you want to do is you want to kind of just pry the door apart from back here. It does take a bit of finagling, so you do kind of want to have a nail and just get it under there so that you can get the space you need. Sometimes it takes a little more effort than others. So yeah, see, like, that's the peg right there, and it does require you to have something to get in between those lines. But once you get that unpegged, basically what you want to do is you want to take that and pull it so that it's like that, and that the peg is then outside of the door. And then what you want to do is you want to come up to this front bit where the headlight and the wheel are, and you want to pull out like so, and down, so that it kind of flips down like that, and you get a bit of hover car action going on there. And you'll see then that this kind of comes unpegged. You want to kind of put that back into place just to make things a little bit easier on yourself so that it stays like that. And then what you can do is you can actually take this, and you can see it's on kind of a triple joint. You want to take this, flip it forward like that, so that this part straightens out, and then you want to take this and flip it all the way back, so that this is sitting nice and flat, and that the joints all form one cohesive line. And then you want to do the same thing over here. Now for me, this side is always easier to get undone than the other one. I don't know why, but it's like this side I can always get my finger under there easier than I can with the other side. And it just makes it a little bit less of a headache. Although for some reason it's not wanting to work this time. I know why it's not wanting to work this time, because the camera's on. Come on. Get my finger under there. Oddly enough, this is the worst part of the transformation, is trying to get these doors out and in both transforming it into vehicle and robot mode. And before any of you try this, no, you don't want to pull this part out first. That is the wrong thing to do. If you try and pull this part out first, this peg will break. I have seen people who have broken their peg like that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get this part out, and you will eventually be able to get it. It does just require a bit of work. So you can see it comes out like that. And then you want to make sure that you pull this part out second. This is very important. This is the second thing that you want to do. You don't want to do that first. Like, I mean, again, I know there are some people who will say, oh, you want to do this first, but that is how you break off this peg. Like, I have seen so many people break off that peg because they decided to do that step first, and it just, it irks me, because even the instructions will say, and I know I usually say sometimes the instructions are wrong, but the instructions say do that first, and you really do want to do that first. So then what you can do is you can basically take the arms and you can flip them forward like that so that they're facing away from the car, and then you want to kind of take them and flip them up so that they're like that. So they're kind of having the wheels pointed down and the doors pointed up, like so. And then what you want to do is you want to come down here to underneath the car, and you want to kind of take this section here where this line is, and you want to get under there and you want to pull out and down at the same time, because that will undo the legs. And then what you can do is you can take the legs and you can pull them down like that so that they sit kind of at a L angle with the top of the car. And then you want to do the same thing over here. Now once you do the one side, the other leg does get easier because they kind of keep each other anchored. So you want to just take that, pull it out and pull it down like so, and then you'll have those just exactly where you need them to go. And then you can see underneath here, there is actually, let me get a light. You can see underneath there is a little peg in the top of the car that kind of pegs into the back of his waist section. So that is what's keeping that all in place. And when you're transforming this into vehicle mode, you want to make sure you have that tabbed in all the way, or the rest of this will not tab in right. So what you want to do is you want to get under there, and you want to just take that and pull it down like so that it comes out like that. And it will come out fairly easily after the first few times. It's not really that easy the first time because it's kind of stiff from just the new figure kind of feeling. So then you want to take this whole waist section here, and you can see once again it's on kind of a double joint, and you want to just take that and you want to flip it down, making sure the legs are always pointed down, just because if you have them pointed any other way they will get in the way. But you want to have that little thing turned like that, and you want to have the waist section turned forward with the legs once again facing down. And then we'll focus on the legs for now just to get them finished. So what you want to do is you want to take this section and you want to rotate it backwards, and it will actually rotate on 2 points. It'll rotate on this joint, and there's also a hinge right here. You can see, move it closer. You can see that that's a tighter hinge, but it's what keeps that in place. So you want to make sure that you turn it down on both of those hinges, and then you want to take this bit here that was underneath the car, and you want to take that and turn it forward, and you want to bring it up. And you can see there's a little peg right here, and there's a peg right here. Those will line up naturally, like so, and that will just fit nice and neatly into place. And then around back here, you have a heel spur. You want to just take that and flip it down like so, and then you have a foot completely done. So then we do second verse, same as the first. You want to take this, and you want to flip it down, make sure you're rotating it at both hinges. And it helps if you hold it at this point, like if you hold it right here with your thumb while you're rotating this down, it does help to kind of get those to come apart. So then again, take this, flip it forward and up so that it's like that, and take the heel spur and just flip it out, and that is the feet completely done. Now if you did choose to actually do this step first, which I don't know how you would manage to do that because everything is here in place, but if you did manage to get that done first, you could have a bit of car with legs. I mean, I know Starscream always gets the jet with legs figure, but I feel like car with legs is a bit more impressive. Alright, so then with the rest of the figure, basically all you want to do is you want to take this, and you want to take the back tail fin here, and you just want to push it down, and it'll just flip in like so. And then you can take this bit, and oop, I'm actually forgetting a step. So you actually want to take this front bit first, and you want to actually rotate that, and you want to kind of make sure this is out of the way. But you want to take this and you want to rotate it around, and it is on a swivel joint, to where this whole thing is upside down. And then you can see there are these little hinges right here. These will attach to the hood of the car, and you can just kind of make that stay in place. And you see right here, this point where it juts up a little bit is actually where this is going to cover. So you kind of just want to push this up like so, and it will just lock into place, covering that little gray hinge, and you will have the waist bit completely in place. Yeah, I completely forgot about that step. I'm not gonna lie, I just completely forgot about it. Alright, so then basically you pretty much just have the top part of the car and the arms left. So like I said, you just take this bit and flip it down, and then you can just take this and push it down like so, and that just kind of sits nice and flush up against his back. And then you want to take the arms and just kind of flip them down like so. And then you can take this arm, and it's actually on a kind of swivel joint. So what you want to do is you want to kind of pull it down and forward, and you can see it comes out like that. And then you can take this little gray bit right here and flip it up to reveal the hand. Now he actually has two different hands, uniquely. What he has is he has his just normal 5mm hand right there. But he also has his little magnet hand that we saw him use against the Sector 7 guys. I'll try and get that a little more in focus. Yeah, you can see you got the little magnet hand. So I feel like that was a nice little feature that they added. I kind of wish they had done something where they could have had both hands on both sides, but you know, it's fine. I mean, they are going to have to make some sacrifices because I know they couldn't do that in any real way, shape, or form. And then you want to do the same thing, just take this and flip it forward, making sure that it's kind of right like that. And then what you want to do is you want to come up here and you want to take the head, and the head is actually on just a regular hinge. So you want to push down from the front right here. You want to push down from this little bit, and the head will kind of just flip up into place. And then you want to take this bit up here, and you want to kind of pull it forward, and it is on another swivel joint. So you want to pull that forward, and you want to kind of make sure you're getting underneath both the top and bottom side so that you can get it to come forward. Jazz, why do you not want to work with me when the camera's on? I know why you don't want to work with me when the camera's on, because the camera's on. I answered my own question. There we go. Now that I got it out, you can kind of see the swivel joint it's on. So basically, once you get it out, all you want to do is just rotate it like so. Rotate it a full 180. And then you want to just push it in like so. Now you do want to kind of make sure that when you're transforming it, the head kind of stays in place, because it does like to kind of slip back in. I wish there was a way to kind of make it more secure, but I haven't really found anything because it's just on that hinge joint. But once you do that, you have the Studio Series Jazz completely transformed and in its robot mode. And I gotta say, how much this thing delivered in vehicle mode, it doubles it in robot mode. Like, I mean, how long have we waited for a Jazz that hasn't had that giant missile in its left arm as part of its shield cannon? I mean, and just the sheer size and accuracy of this thing as well is very much something that we've been waiting for a long time. And I mean, it doesn't really get put into comparison how out of scale the old figure Jazz is, but when you look at them, the old figure Jazz is actually bigger than Bumblebee. Like, if you can believe that, the old figure Jazz is bigger than Bumblebee. Like, that's a bit too big for Jazz, if you're wondering. But, to be fair, back then, everything was a little bigger. And yes, I know what joke I just inadvertently made. So let's get in a little close here. So we can see, once again, we've got the noggin right over here. We've actually got a lot of detail on that thing. Let me see if I can kind of get it to focus a bit better. But you can see we got kind of some carvings right up here. Of course, we got the featured Captain America ear things over here. He's actually got his visor too, which is kind of nice. It's not movable, unfortunately, just like B's visor isn't movable. But it does look very nice in that nice teal plastic. The front section of the car actually does look nice too, with how it's just all of this carving up here for all these little mechanical parts, instead of just being like, oh, a part's over here or a part's over here to make up this bit. And it does look just overall very nice, especially with that silver paint. Although it doesn't carry all the way through, there are some parts of the robot mode, mainly on the legs, that don't really have the silver paint. Like the front bits of the legs don't really have any of that, but they do make up for it with their nice little gold paint on the shin guards, and the shins actually do look very nice. Like they aren't like just projecting out from the front of the leg, and they are actually very well sculpted. They don't really have the kind of three-pronged landing platform feet that Jazz did in the movie, but it looked alright. It looks alright for what we got, and what we got is still very good. I very much like it. And we do actually have not only leg articulation on this figure, but also heel articulation that doesn't require you to undo part of the transformation. Like, this is probably one of the best articulations on any Studio Series figure I have both seen and held. Not to mention, of course, we also have the full hip rotation up here, where we can actually move the leg around the hip. And the back of the leg actually does look really nice. It's not just like that kind of straight, streamlined stuff to make it look more human. It is actually kind of alien in its look, and I do very much like that. But you can get a lot of articulation out of this thing using both of the joints on the leg, and the arms actually do have a good bit of articulation as well. There are times where I've managed to get both of the arms kind of in front of the chest in that kind of crossed arm pose, but it is very difficult to replicate it. Like, after the first time, it took me like an hour to figure out how I did it, and since then I just can't remember how I did. But the sculpting on this thing is very nice. The backpacking too isn't really that bad. I mean, they couldn't really hide it anywhere. I mean, they could have tried to maybe make this bit fold up a little more so that it could kind of come forward a little bit. But with what they have, it didn't really leave much room for the backpack, so it did kind of mean that there was going to be some, but it's not as egregious as other figures like, say, Roadbuster had, or the Ratchets have had, where they had the little black part of the top of the medical vehicle just sticking out from the backpack. And of course, again, he does have his moon mirror blaster that he can actually use on either hand, because not only does it have the 5mm port right here, it also has a slot in the back of it, which if you take the hand and you rotate it back to resting position, will actually just attach right onto the hand, like... no, not like that. Come on, Jazz, work with me here. You know I'm just trying to get this to work. It'll go like that. And then you just have the cannon as part of the hand. And I gotta say, I do really like how the Studio Series line has been trying to make the weapons, well, most of the weapons, seem like they are an actual incorporated part of the Transformer. And in terms of size scaling, Jazz actually does size up really well, that he actually does size about equally to Bumblebee, if not a little bit shorter, which is pretty accurate, because in the movie, Bumblebee was 18 feet and Jazz was 16. And he is quite a bit smaller than Ratchet, which is good, because as we saw, Jazz was the smallest of the bots. But I do really like how they kind of sized him compared to the rest of the figures. It does actually really work, and it does kind of go for that more movie accurate feel that they were trying to hit. But yeah, overall, I really do enjoy this Jazz figure. It is just an absolute treat, and I am really glad that I was able to find one in some capacity, because again, this is one of the figures that has, since the start of the Studio Series figures line, kind of just vanished out of existence. Like, there is no trace of this, of Ironhide, of Sideswipe, of either of the Ratchets. They are just gone, erased from existence, reduced to atoms. And with that, I guess I'll leave this review here. There's not really a whole lot else I have to say. Did I just say leave this review? We're gonna ignore that. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this review. Let me know if you like the new style with B kind of guest featuring. I mean, I did figure that you guys kind of wanted a bit more than just the static shot of, oh, there is Robot Toy in front of us. And I didn't really, again, want to take the hours it would take to try and get me in the frame while also reviewing and kind of learn that kind of style. But again, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you do want to pick up a Jazz, I would say your best bet's going to be eBay. Like, I would say try like Walmart or GameStop or one of those places, but their sites tend to be misleading with their availability, and they do kind of just let people sell for whatever prices they want. So you could find a Jazz, but it could be somewhere in the range of $100 for a Deluxe Studio Series figure. There is also Big Bad Toy Store, which you could occasionally check. Sometimes they have one. It's very rare, but there are times when they have some of the rarer figures. But with that, I'll leave this video here. If you guys did enjoy it, you can slap the like button as always, and I will see all you beautiful people in the next video. Now, will you two put the guns down?